Hi everyone, it's Martin from Flick and Feathers here. Today I'm going to be showing you how I like to tie my fat boys. Um, they're a really good fly for pelagic species, tuna, mahi, that kind of thing. Um, this video is quite long because I'm covering everything from start to finish. So you can see that I've got a pink one in the vise, it's just polar hair and it's coated with silicone. It's really soft and squishy, like it collapses when they bite it. There's plenty of gape exposed anyway, and it really moves nicely in the water. So I'd encourage you to tie some if you ever take the fly rod offshore. It's well worth having a couple in your box. So I'm starting a Tuna S10S-4H in the vise, and I've wrapped it with 15 tons of 0.35 lead wire. But how much weight you want to add is up to you. I like it to be reasonably heavy to counteract the buoyancy of the silicone. So it was a pink one that I had in the vise here, but to show you at the start. But I'm going to be tying a sort of mackerel coloured one. So I'm just starting off some white thread. This is Danville's flat wax nylon, 140 denier. To be honest, the thread colour doesn't really matter because it's completely hidden. Just make sure it's strong, and and that's basically all you need to worry about. So the first stage is to tie in the tail, and I'm actually it's pseudo hair that I'm using, but I mean polar fibre, pseudo hair, it's just the same stuff. So take a reasonable bunch of the pseudo hair and take the fluff out from the bottom, then just tie it in. I just save the fluff for dubbing. It makes quite a nice dubbing because it's non-absorbent and non-buoyant. It's really good for flies that you want to sink quickly. So there I've tied that in. You can see the tails twice to 2.5 times the length of the shank, the hook. And then it's time to add some flash. I'm just adding some silver holographic flashabou. And I'm just using the standard flashabou as opposed to the saltwater stuff because it moves a bit better. And this isn't a huge fly either. So I've got about 8 strands of this. I mean 8, 10, up to you. But I've got about 8 there, and I'm just tying them in on top of this bunch of polar fibre, and I'm just pseudo hair, and I'm just leaving them slightly longer, just a wee hair longer than the polar fibre that I've tied in for the tail, and then just make sure they're sort of sitting how you like them. Just use your fingers if you like to spread them a little bit across the top, and make sure the ends are uneven. Right, you can see they're not quite the same length. That helps them move better in the water. If they're all the same length, they can tend to clump together and don't move as well. Whereas if they're different lengths, they'll sort of flex independently, give you better movement. So I've then moved the thread to like the midway point, and then same again. I'm just taking clumps of pseudo hair, roughly the same thickness as the tail, and I'm going to tie them around the shank, and just tie them in. Start one on top, It should be a wee bit shorter, just very slightly shorter than the tail that you've tied in. And then get another clump and prepare it the same way. Just hold it about 2/3 of the way up and pull all of the short, kind of fluffy fibres from the bottom. I've just started a new pack of psuedo here, and you can see that I've just taken my wire dog brush and pulled it through it a bit. You can see the difference. On the left was the stuff that I'd taken with the comb, and then the right was the stuff fresh from the packet, which was kind of clumped together. I like to separate it out and sort of choose the thickness of the clumps myself, rather than just be dictated to by the way it's sort of sitting in the pack. I'll also comb the fly as well as I'm tying it towards the end. So I'm just taking a second clump. This is going to be tied on the off side. So make it sure it's the same length, and then just hold it and then tie it down so that the thread torque will take it over. And make sure that your tying point doesn't creep forward. You want to tie this down in exactly the same place as the clump that you tied on top. Then turn the hook, well, I've inverted the hook in the vise, and then just another clump. Same thing again. I mean, if you're an experienced fly tyer, you might want to skip forward a little bit. Same again, tie it in. Again, making sure that the tie-in point is not creeping forward. So you can see the thread torch, actually, that clump was kind of thick, and the thread torch actually almost taking it all the way around. But I've still got a gap, and I'm going to need my fourth clump. You need to make sure the body's full. Incidentally, you can use other materials for this. Like, I mean, craft fur can be used if you're tying them a bit smaller. If you're tying bigger versions, you could tie them like with Farrar blend or EP fibres. I was my last December I went on a trip to Okinawa chasing GTs. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a disaster because of the weather. But the fat boys that I was tying there, for that I was using flash blend on an 8/0 SL12. But the tying technique was basically the same. So once you've got your 4 clumps tied in and you've got the hook well surrounded, come in and trim away the waste. And then come in with some super glue. This super glue is empty, I just need to open a fresh one. So there you go. I like to throw a fair wee bit of super glue on the waste butts there before I tie my thread over them. I mean, they're sort of relatively durable flies anyway, but it doesn't do any harm just to add that extra bit of security. So now I'm going to add a bit more flash, but I'm going to move away from the silver. I don't like too much flash in these. and I'm just using ice wing fibre and Pearl UV, but you could use ordinary Pearl if you like, or whatever flash suits you. If you want it to be a bit flashier, that's entirely up to you. But I like just a little bit. So just pull out your ice wing fibre, pull it through itself a few times to make sure it's sitting roughly in the same direction, and then just tie it in, adjust it to suit, and then fold the ends back to the other side, and then just sort of pull it back, brush it through with your fingers. See, that needs a bit of adjusting, sort of clumped together, so I'll spread it first and then hold it tight and just have it take a couple of wraps, and that should sort of spread it a bit more evenly over the side of the back and the side of the fly, and then just run the comb through it. If you know, it just helps kind of give you an idea how everything's going to sit after the next stage. So now I'm going to tie the final stage, and I'll be reverse tying everything. So the stuff that's going to be on the outside of the fly has to be tied in first, so that when you fold it back, it's on top of the other material. So for the, I'm going to add a bit more, just a wee bit more flash over the back, and I'm going to use the Ice Dub Shimmer Fringe Minnow Back, and this is Pearl Dark UV Blue Back that I'm using as the colour. You can see there it's like got sort of almost black on one side, and a sort of blue pearly colour on the inside, a bit paler. So I'm tying that in, pointing forward with the black stuff facing down, and keep all this on top of the shank. You don't want this like spreading round, right? It's to be like the back of the fly. You can see there's a tie it, pull it back, like you get the dark on the top, and then it's just time to come in with another few clumps of polar fibre, or pseudo here. I keep calling it polar fibre. Well, that's what it is. And just the same again, except, you know, prepare them, take the fluffy stuff out the bottom and tie them in around the shank, except this time with the tapered ends pointing forward to the eye. And don't worry too much about trimming the waist. If it's a bit long, well, we'll see. I might need to trim some if they're a bit long, but yeah, I like to leave the waist ends there as much as possible, because it then means that I can quite easily apply the silicone without worrying about the fibre sticking to itself on the inside and ruining the fly. And like a small kind of cushion just to keep everything separate. So that's the second bunch on the side. Just running my thread through those butts, but you see that's just a bit long. That might kind of interfere with the profile, so just trimming it back a wee bit. Another bunch. Same, just the same. You know, try and keep your bunches roughly the same thickness, so you get a nice kind of round, consistent shape. That one's a bit heavy, but not bad. And again, the waist bit's a wee bit long, so we'll just come in and trim it. But don't trim it flush. Yeah, as I said, just leave that wee sort of fringe there at the back. That just helps to make the fly work when you come to silicone it up. And then just a wee tiny bunch, so just here, the last bunch was quite thick, so I've spread it a bit, but I just feel I need a wee bit more just to make sure I've got full coverage. So basically that's the tie-in done. Right? I mean, I don't even bother whip finishing this. I just get some super glue on the thread and just, you know, wrap it over itself a few times. That's plenty. You know, and just snip your thread. That's more than enough to hold it, the super glue there, because you're going to be, as I say, using silicone in the next steps to sort of form the bait fish shape. So you can see you've got this sort of like double-ended brush. At the moment you've got two clumps sticking out in opposite directions, and I'm just going to colour this in basically to help sort of make it look a bit more mackerel-y, bait fishy. So I mean, you could obviously use like different coloured hair. You know, if you want like two tones or whatever, that's of course you can do that. But actually, I've been finding it really difficult to get a hold of the colours that I like for this locally, and I'm making this video because a few people have asked me on the blog and stuff to do it, so I thought I'd just use the pen instead of keeping them waiting. And actually, having used the pen, I think I prefer it because it's the colour sort of you know, you don't just have like this straight line or where the blue clump is. You know, you sort of there's a bit of a sort of element of colour bleeding, I suppose, as the ink is through it. I think it just looks a bit more natural. I mean, it might just be me, you know, in my mind. But I do like it. I like the pen. So it's worth. It's just. I mean, it's something to think about. Obviously, if you just prefer to use the blue stuff, like just blue hair, that's obviously fine, you know. And yeah, I mean, remember to do this before before you put any silicone on. The silicone will not take the ink. You know, just will not accept it. So I'm just, now that I've got the blue in, I'm just going to run the comb through it just to sort of separate any fibres that have clumped together and start encouraging it to take the shape that it's going to have once it's been coated. So I still want to add some gills and some stripes, but obviously I need it to be sort of looking roughly the way it's going to look when it's done, or roughly in the shape it's going to be when it's done. So I've brushed everything back, and I'm just going to sweep it back and hold it relatively tightly and stick my stripes on it. You know, skippies and that, they will eat small mackerel, most definitely. You know, because they're small and they're delicious. So that's it striped. And then we'll just get some red. And I'm not like, I'm not too fussy, really, when they're for me. You know, if I was tying it for someone else, I might take my time a bit more with the positioning of the gill, but that's good enough for me. You know, there's a chance that you'll move it about anyway when you put the silicone on, so it's not the end of the world. So that's it, right? The tie-in's done. The colouring in's done. So we're ready to put the first coat of silicone on, right? And if you're going to be working with silicone, there's a few things to be thinking about and have ready, right? So usually I would tie, you know, like as many of these as I was going to tie and do all the tying, and then I'd clean everything up, you know, so that there was no stray fibres sticking about, and then I'd do all the silicone, the first coat, get them in the drying wheel, and then come back the next day and do the second coat. Because it's for a video, I'm just going straight ahead. So you need something to spread your silicone. I like these wee, look, the wee sharp edge spreaders that come with the epoxy that I buy over here. But you can, you know, a razor blade's good. I know some people like a razor blade. Nerves of steel though, if you want to be using that for spreading silicone. I know if you read Bob Popovich's book, which is a great book, he recommends a plastic knife, you know, like but disposable cutlery, and he just with the serrations filed away, so it's a nice sharp, smooth, clean edge. Then I just like to stick a daub of silicone onto a post-it, and I've got a wee tub of quite strong soapy water. That's like about half a cup of water, and I've added, you know, the same amount of washing up detergent as I would use, you know, for like for a sink, for a basin full of water. Probably at the first stage you won't need hopefully you won't need the soapy water, because you shouldn't really need to touch it with your hands. So just pick up a small amount of silicone and sort of scrape it back, and I'm just going past the third stripe, just to give me like a kind of an indication of where it's going. You want this coat to be as thin as possible, right? And it's good if you can use some, you know, if you're just tying like a solid colour, it's a wee bit harder. You just need to sort of, you know, you just get used to judging where to stop. But I like to leave it just, you know, well, maybe less than that, a third of a shank length behind the back of the hook, just to stop it fouling. As you can see there, sometimes you need to sort of adjust it, but keep this coat as thin as possible, right? You know, just enough to give you a seal all the way around, right? You don't want big thick layers. If you put it on too thick, it starts there's more chance of it going sort of opaque and what have you. So just pull it and tease it, pull the material tight, let it go. Eventually you'll see how it's going to sit, and you know, you can decide what way you're going to split it and things, and just keep adding it a little bit at a time, and then it's easier. I mean, I prefer to turn the hook upside down in the vise, just to let me get in at the bottom there. That's kind of the trickiest bit, really, to make sure it's coated, you know, and then where the hook comes out through the material. If you sort of grab the tail and gently pull it up, right, it'll sort of help set the profile a wee bit, and then you can just sort of readjust. You know, when the first coat's just freshly on, you can sort of readjust the pseudo hair, you know, to get the shape you want, and then it'll more or less hold it. You can see I'm just pushing and pulling it and sort of tugging it, trying to get the shape I'm looking for. So it does take a bit of work, but again, I'm probably going slower because I'm doing the video. I know, you know, but just keep, you know, just scrape it across, scrape it across. Try to get as thin and even a coating as you can, right? Because again, you don't want too much buoyancy from the silicone either. You know, I mean, it's not the end of the world if you have a wee bit thicker, but it's better if you can avoid it. So you can see there you've got a nice sort of round shape. And then at this stage you need to add your eyes. While the silicone is still tacky, it really helps it to stick. You know, you don't want to add them when they are you don't want to try to stick tape eyes to cured silicone. You know, they're going to be really resistant. So I like quite a big eye, as you might have noticed in the the fly that was already sitting in the vise. And I'm using a tape eye, right? Because I've found that if you use like a 3D eye, they can actually cut their way back out of the silicone, because they don't flex with it. So I'm using a 3/8 silver tape eye. You could use red or whatever, you know. If you want to use a 3D eye because like you like the Jurassic eyes or something, they do look a bit better, then go for it. The fly will still will look good and will certainly fish, but I've found that they start shedding eyes, you know, after you've caught a few on it, which I mean, as soon as the eye goes, that's it, I'm not going to fish it, you know, I'm taking it off and putting a new one on. So just use your bodkin. It's a good idea if you crease the eyes while they're still on the paper, so that they sort of hug naturally to the shape of the fly. And don't be afraid to push them on, you know, push it into the silicone, so that it's near flush. You can see the eyes essentially flush, right? There's nothing sticking up to cause a bump or anything. And it means you can get a thinner coating over the eye at the next stage to hold it in place and give yourself a nicer fly. Same again, just pre-crease the eye, stick it on, and then again, make sure it's pressed in. So
just push it in, because you've left the waste pieces of
again, yeah, just make sure that eye's well bedded on the silicone.
Untrimmed.
You know, you probably could just take it and fish it like this one, like when the silicone's off. You know, it would.
You can press quite hard against it, and
you know that they would be gripped in pretty well. But as I say, I like to have it covered, you know, because once the eye's off it, that's it, straight in the bin. So that's basically all I can do at this stage. I like to leave it overnight if possible to cure. I mean, if you're doing 10 or 12, by the time you come back round, you know, when you finish your 12th, you come back round, you could probably start the second coats, but I just leave it overnight. So I've come back in the morning, and here's it's still in the vise, just sitting in the same place. I've not moved it, and you can see now that it's sort of gone off. The you know, it's sort of relaxed a bit. You know, the fibres have naturally tried to go back to the shape they were going and just relaxed it a bit overnight. That's why I like to leave it, because I think it gives you a better profile. And then, so this is the last coat, and I'm just starting the same way, right, with my wee spreader, my wee spatula, and you know, try to get I'm trying to make the coating as even as I can with the spreader before I go anywhere near it with my fingers. You know, and again, a thin coat is better than a thick coat. You know, but just it's basically, well, it's almost the same. Just just spread the silicone across it. It's easier to get it on this time because it's already, the form's already there. It's got to sit for you, and you're just spreading it onto a reasonably smooth base. And you've also got the advantage that you can spread in both directions, without worrying too much about the fibres, like getting pulled back and getting you a horrible ugly finish, because they're already held in place. I would say that, this layer can be a bit thicker, right? But you can see there I'm using the spatula in the opposite direction to try to get a nice clean edge at the back. I like, like, I know some guys that tie them in, they just sort of spread it until the silicone just sort of runs out, it just sort of peters away, and it's fine. It makes no difference at all in the fishability of the fly, as far as I can tell. But I like to try to put a nice sort of clean edge, as much for myself as anything else. Just need a bit more. You might need to fill a wee. You might have a wee hollow to fill or something. That's fine. You just make sure it's got a nice. You've got a nice coat most of the way around. Now it will get to a stage where the spatula or the spreader starts. It starts becoming impossible to get it any cleaner. You can see that it's I'm just dragging silicone around a wee bit now. I'm not really adding any nice smooth finish. I'm sort of dragging it about, and it's starting to look a bit ugly. Right? At this stage, you want to get your soapy water in the go. Get your finger in. Make sure your finger's well lubed up. And then you can just come in and polish the silicone. And you can be fairly rough with it. You're not going to move the eye. You're not going to push the eyes away or anything. So just come in, polish it. You can make sure you keep your finger wet. Don't let it dry up, or the silicone will grab it instantly. It starts sticking to you, and you'll make a horrible mess. Just get all around it. You can sort of push it about a bit to suit yourself, and that's it. Basically, that boy. I hope you liked that. If you did, or if you didn't, please leave a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.